You're listening to The Talent Sync. The Talent Sync is a collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink on how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Leah Daniels and Kevin Grossman. Today's topic is all about how centralized recruiting structures have the candidate experience edge. Enjoy the podcast. Leah, hello, welcome. Good to see you again. We are over halfway through the year now. What is going on?
Well, happy Boxing Day in July.
Is that what it is? I don't even know what that means.
Well, Christmas in July was yesterday,
so
we're doing recording. Yeah, no, nice to see you. The summer is happening. In the last week, we've had highs, we've had lows. It's like a telenovela here in the New England region for our weather.
It is. I just hooted. I talked to a TA leader just the other day that might be speaking at our conference. Anyway, and they're in DC area, and they said that it is horrific, gross, humid, hot, like off the chart index. I'm like, ugh.
Yep, it is. I feel like we have here in New England, we're having Florida weather. So, Florida has that nice afternoon rainstorm. You can count on it. We get that now. Like somewhere around 2:00, the thunder rolls in, the rain rolls in. By 2:15, it's over. We're back to whatever like hot, soupy mess we were having before. So that's our new world. But
is that cooling you off though?
No,
not at all. It just makes it's making it worse, right?
It just makes you feel like you're gonna have it's activity, but not necessarily progress. Yeah, no, it's not great. I did just come back from Germany though. I was there last week.
Nice. And you were speaking, right? You were speaking?
Yes. I got to join. There's this really cool conference in Berlin called We Are Developers. So just picture this. 18,000 of the nerdiest nerds all together in one festival. It's indoor. It's outdoor. There's Airstreams. There's food trucks. Like it's everything.
Was it kind of Burning Man then, or not Burning Man?
No, it's a little bit more corporate than that.
So it was more like Lollapalooza or Coachella kind of a thing. Is that what?
No, keep going more corporate than that.
Oh God, really? So is it kind of like going to see what's the Warren Buffett? Like, I guess he does this anyway. I'm rambling.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been to that one.
He does. No, I used to have when I used to work at HR Marketer all those years ago, the owner of the business would go once a year to this annual pilgrimage to see Warren Buffett and his investors. And it was like this totally conservative, I mean, not politically conservative, just financial mecca that these people would go to once a year. So, but it wasn't that extreme then.
No.
Okay.
This was more like there was a big indoor component, multi-floor event space, but also various floors had outdoor pieces that people are moving in and out, but mostly developers. Lots of live coding happening, so much nerdness happening. And the We Are Developers organization is actually a very large job board that puts this on, and then they run alongside it a recruiting conference on tech recruiting. And it's really kind of great because what you see is the developers are actually coming in and out of some of the recruiting sessions to learn more about like, how is it that you choose who gets the job? And the recruiting folks are welcome to go in and learn more about the different technologies that they're talking about. And so it's really kind of nice commingled situation. But of course, in the middle of all of it, the crisis of CrowdStrike hits. And so it ends on Friday. People can't get out, no flights, all the craziness is happening. Berlin airport is impacted, so you can't get out of Berlin. And so, and you've got a lot of people here who are walking around going, that would never happen in my code.
The hubris. The developer hubris. Okay.
So I ended up staying in for an extra night, and Kevin, you're gonna love this.
Yeah, tell me.
Do you know that I'm a foodie? Have I shared this with you?
I didn't know how briefly, but tell me more. Yeah.
So I'm looking for something to eat on Friday night now, and I'm noticing in the great city of Berlin.
So you're not hitting up the Berlin McDonald's then? No.
No, not yet. Desperate times might come, but not at this point. And so I'm taking a look at options, and I'm noticing that this city has multiple really amazing Michelin star restaurants, all the things. You can't get a table on a Friday night at one of these. No notice, right? You can't even get it in November. But they have a wait list, and I was like, well, you know what? I'll put myself on that. Would you believe it? Everyone I put myself on a wait list called me back and said, I've got a table. Are you interested?
So what does that tell you, though? I mean, and listen, I'm sure that you can get to the food part, but what does that mean? Does that mean a lot of people just canceled or what?
Yeah, but it looks like they only had like one cancellation. And I think that tells me that nobody puts themselves on the wait list. Like nobody says, I'll just give it a shot. See what happens. And so I did, and they did. And then there are so many pictures of food, and I won't share them with you. But
that's awesome.
10 courses later,
wow.
I had to roll myself to I know, it was amazing.
Did it include any schnitzel?
It didn't, but I did go with the German sort of version of the menu. I was very excited about it. So highly recommend, put yourself on the wait list. Can't hurt, right? Sometimes you just got to take a risk.
How many stars was the restaurant?
Michelin 2-star.
2. I mean, I imagine as I fix myself my scrambled eggs in the morning that I'm the bear, which is not really the case. But no, you know what's funny that we're actually, my wife has gotten, she's a really good chef. I'm a decent cook, but we've gotten since the pandemic, we have been more of a foodie, especially like learning food shows, like about cultural background, how barbecue came about and different places around the world. And it's so much fun. So it's awesome that and so it was delicious then.
Oh, it's amazing. But I think my takeaway is like all my bias got in there. I was like, they're not going to say yes. There's no space.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to McDonald's. Like I knew my destiny here. It was a Big Mac, but no, you just got to take a shot, see what happens. Maybe it works out.
My wife says the same. I'm the one that's the naysayer saying it's never going to happen, never going to happen. But it does happen though.
It does happen.
So that's great.
I recommend it.
Awesome.
You know, sometimes it's like you got to roll out an AI employee and see what happens.
Well, and that's kind of, so let's, yes. And I'm so glad they pulled back on that one. Thank you very much for pulling back. Maybe someday, decades from now, that might be a reality, but not right now. Please. I don't want to do that. But listen, we're going to talk about recruiting structure, centralized, decentralized a little bit for the rest of this. But first though, we should probably touch on an update, right? And I sent this to you. I just read it yesterday. And I'm just going to read this one thing and then we can talk about. So for anybody that's been paying attention, there was a suit filed against Workday for discrimination. And so this is the latest update. On July 12th, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California determined that Workday, a provider of AI-infused human resources software, can be held liable under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, the Age Discrimination and the Employment Act of 1967, and the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, as an agent of the corporate clients that hire Workday to screen and source candidates for employment by utilizing its AI-infused decision-making tools. That was what just came out not too long ago. Boom.
Yes.
And when we back up, right, because you talked about this a little bit before, Workday was trying to get it dismissed, saying, no, we're not an agent of employment for this at all. And then EEOC, which we thought they were going to go one way, but they went the other. They actually were, right, they were a proponent of the plaintiff in this regard.
Yeah.
Saying that, yes, if you are making selection decisions, but now, just what's your quick take? Because, I mean, there could be other legal decisions that vary elsewhere throughout the United States, but this is the first one.
Time for a Talent Sync break.
Hey everybody, Kevin Grossman here, president of Talent Board and the Candidate Experience Awards. Our 2023 Candidate Experience Benchmark Research Program will open in January and run through August 31st. To learn more on how your organization can participate, go to thetalentboard.org.
Break time's over. Now back to the Talent Sync.
Well, so I think there's a couple things. First, they're using explicitly the terms AI-based tools. But if you read a lot of this, they are conflating AI and automation, and that worries me a lot because we all use automation to survive recruiting. Like knockout questions are the perfect example of automation, not AI. But this would imply that it actually could be part of the conversation now. That if you're using an automated knockout question, for example, like super simple question, right? You are applying to be a surgeon at a hospital and they ask you, do you have an MD? And the answers are yes and no, and you say no. And so therefore they automate you out, because you have to have an MD to be a surgeon. And is the ATS that has provided you that functionality contributing to a discriminatory behavior based on this? And I'm going to say, no, it's not, but it feels like a slippery slope to me around the looseness of the language.
It does. And that article I shared with you came from a law firm that was basically relaying this information. They did kind of make that point that does this now open up potential, frivolous or not, more lawsuits? I mean, this person that filed said it was, what was it, over 100 jobs?
8,200.
8,200. But what happens if it's 5? And when we were talking about before we started recording, when I try to think about this from what I know in my Candy benchmark data world, and I know that there's a lot of angry candidates when it's one job, and you said something interesting too, where you're going to share that data with me later, that the average job applicant applies for 168 jobs. Is that what?
Yep.
I mean, and you're talking about during a job search, right?
During a job search. Yep.
That seems high to me, but whatever the case is, they are applying for a lot of jobs. But even if those who applied for 5 or 10 jobs and are super angry and feel like, is that going to open up these lawsuits? So I think part of what it talked about is that other legal decisions that are made around this need to be, again, super clear that it is truly AI impacted decisions decisioning in the process. And it's not what we've been doing for a while now. Since we've had ATSs in the market, we've had screening questions like that, right? I mean, for the least,
yes.
I mean, that's not new, but that's not AI either.
No, it's not learning. It's not artificial. It is a very clean. And I think a lot of this is, and I said this before, I think a lot of this is, in fact, the EEO is contributory in all of this because of the requirements to collect information that could be used in a discriminatory way up front. I mean, if you think about the normal application, Kevin, I need to know your name, I need a home address, I need to know your phone number, email address. By the way, I don't need to actually any of that information for the most part, maybe your city, state, but I really don't need the rest at this point. But whatever, we're collecting it. I need to know, did you used to work here? Are you over 18? Are you allowed to work in the United States? Now I got qualifying questions. Can you carry a gun? Whatever it might be. But now I'm going to go straight from qualifying questions right into what's your gender? What's your race? Are you a veteran? I'm going to go into, do you have a disability? Here are my terms and conditions. Are you telling me everything that's truthful? And away we go. That is a standard flow. And if you think about that for 1 second, and you're not a recruiter and you're not us, you might think to yourself, what are they using this for?
Right.
And it says we won't look at it. How do I know you won't look at it?
Right. There's definitely some things that I mean, and they were clear. This decision said they did say Workday is an agent of the employer.
Yep.
But not an employment agency.
Yep. That's different.
Which is an important differentiation in this case, because they're not. I mean, they're not. But it did reference the fact of other tools that are actually helping to source candidates, like others in our space that we're aware of, that they're going to have to think about how they're servicing their customers and looking at their legal requirements today.
And I've seen this before, and almost everyone I've seen do it eventually pulls it back, but I saw it recently kind of creeping again in the sourcing tools where you can target someone based on gender or race. Now, usually it's because companies are thinking about it through the lens of, I want to increase diversity. That's why it's there. But you can also see how it could be used the other way. And I think that's just, again, slippery slopes. So, anyway, that's all happening right now. It's exciting times.
It is. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's, we've been having, I don't think I like the word unprecedented anymore, but it's happening a lot in a lot of different, areas, including our own space and what we do and work. But let's shift a little bit now and just talk for the rest of the time on. So I did this piece recently for ERE based on our research, just looking, I was curious about, because I have conversations anecdotally with TA leaders that talk about, we're moving from centralized to decentralized or back again. And I remember Elaine Orler, who works for CLO and was one of the co-founders of Talent Board in the Candies. She had told me a long time ago, she seemed, for all the years she's been consulting, she every 2 or 3 years, companies switch. Centralized, decentralized. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and some of the things are consistency and standardization. For centralized recruiting, efficiency, compliance, and risk management. Decentralized can help reduce bottlenecks, improve responsiveness, cost efficiency. I mean, there's those reasons. And I wanted to look at it from what does the candidate experience say about that? Do they feel like it is more positive and fair through the decentralized structure or the centralized? And what was clear is that the centralized model definitely had the edge in the data overall, which I was expecting just because of the whole issue of consistency and standardization. Why can't I say that word?
It's a big word. I know. Lots of letters.
Standardization, because that was my hypothesis. And that's what we found in the data, is that although what's interesting is that, and I didn't even begin to touch on why yet, because there's so much to unpack. For those who the candidates who got offers and were hired, they had a higher positive experience, decentralized it than centralized. And maybe because it's more because of the responsiveness could be part of it.
I mean, I think that's so interesting because my experience working with lots of companies, and we work with both, some of it totally aligns to what you're saying, right? Especially the compliance and risk management. Every company we talk to with a decentralized model is having a moment where like the heart palpitations are going, where they're like, yeah, they keep doing things and like we're totally out of compliance and oh my God, right? You feel the anxiety of the businesses with that decentralized model. But what I was surprised about in your data was the improved responsiveness. And I say that in the decentralized models because we see a lot of the opposite happening, because the decentralized hiring is also not hiring consistently all the time. And so those people who are doing the hiring process are often doing 6 other jobs too. And their hiring is just one of their tasks in their list. And so they are not able to consistently be interactive with candidates.
Does that also differ from the complexity and size of the organization? And I didn't do that in this cut. It was all in. This is what we found. But it would be interesting to see, because if I'm obviously really, really small organizations, even if they're high growth, are most likely, even if they have remote individuals, they're still very localized, right? They're not all over the world yet. But then you get it to high growth, mid-sized global enterprise. When you say that the decentralized was less responsive, was that for larger complex organizations, or do you know?
So I would say that where I'm seeing that happen is in certain industries, right? We see it a lot in retail and restaurant work.
On the more high volume hourly side, then.
And then also on, interestingly, like think about a hospital system with satellites.
Got it.
Where you've got these little satellite offices that are looking for people or whatever it might be. So it's just these models where to be fair, Kevin, like a lot of the centralized piece is there is a person who is running recruiting, but the people doing the hiring don't work for them. I don't mean the hiring managers. I mean, the people doing the hiring process don't work for them.
Don't work for the centralized people, or the decentralized, you mean?
Right. You see the field recruiters, general managers, however it might be done, don't report in to the VP of talent, right?
They don't, but there's still, but the mandate from this is how we're going to, even if there's regional differences, obviously, in a European country versus the Southeast in the United States, of how that recruiting process plays out. There's still, from a centralized person, there's still a mandate on how we're going to market our employment brand. If it's a structured interview process, that we want to try to adhere to that globally, right? Even if they don't report to them, there's still a mandate that comes out. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
That is quickly ignored.
Well, that's true. And I hear that too. Yes. And by the way, we see it in the ratings when it's quickly ignored too. So especially when it's just chaos and it drives down overall candidate sentiment.
Time for a Talent Sync break.
Hi, Talent Sync listeners. I just wanted to share a bit about JobSync with you all. JobSync helps companies get more quality candidates out of their job board advertising and automates a variety of manual recruitment tasks by solving for the very low conversion rate challenges most companies experience on their career site. JobSync integrates your entire application, including all of your questions, directly into the various job boards' quick apply processes, providing you with fully completed applications directly into your ATS and resulting in 2 to 5 times more candidates while dropping your cost per application by half. This helps return up to 10 hours a week back into your recruiter's time through custom automations that are based on your business-specific recruiting processes. JobSync works with most major ATSs like Workday, SuccessFactors, and Taleo, CRMs, programmatic platforms, and job boards like Indeed and Zip. You can check out jobsync.com to learn more.
Break time's over. Now back to the Talent Sync.
Well, and you see sort of a different emotional behavior, right? So you've got in the decentralized model, there's some urgency, for example, in one place. And so they will then engage in a variety of activities to support that urgency that they're feeling, where someone else may not have that urgency and they will engage in certain behaviors because of it, like not calling candidates back, only screening on Fridays. I've seen all of these things before, right? So waiting once a week to screen your candidates and call them is not an effective way to have a positive overall candidate experience. Now, Kevin, what's interesting in your data, right, is that the people who have positive experiences, not all of them, but some of them are the ones that get hired. And so if you applied on Thursday and Friday is the screening day, you're probably feeling okay. Now, if you applied on Saturday and Friday is the screening day, you're not feeling okay, right? And so I think that there is just challenges. And I'm not saying one model or the other is better or worse. I'm saying we see challenges in both models, but the decentralized model produces a lot of nuanced issues that are hard, even with the mandate, to then bring into corporate alignment.
The majority of employers, and especially the candidate responses that we receive, and this is based on this year that I'm looking at. I didn't go back yet, but looking at it from this year that we're still collecting data, we're over 150,000 responses. We'll probably go north of 200 this year. Last year we had about 240, but 80% actually of last year and a little over 80% this year were candidates being hired or screened, interviewed, etc., through centralized recruiting companies. So the bulk of them are, in our data at least, are centralized. And for at least the past 2 years, that's been similar in the total percentage. But you mentioned something else to me, though, and I appreciate the nuance that you're sharing now, but there's also business-related political issues, not politics in the government sense, but in internal politics, right? That impact these things. So talk about that.
Well, so there's always politics in all of these things, but when you get to it, and what I've seen anyway, is these decentralized models, that mandate that gets ignored. It's because, in fact, they're not really accountable to talent's metrics. They're not accountable to the hiring. They're often actually accountable to something totally different, which, by the way, if you don't hit your own personal hiring goals, you might miss. But they're harder to sort of track, right? And because it's not close together. And so when you get to the what should we do to move the business forward? How do we get better optimization? That's where politics really start to come in, because you've got these store managers, for example, being like, yeah, right, SLA of 24 hours sounds nice, but I just had 3 of my shipments not show up and 6 of my employees didn't show up, and I've got a union forming, and they're like, I don't have time for your silliness.
And by the way, you're completely correct on that, because even just in recent memory, there's been a couple of national chain employers. I don't want to say their name. They're good folks, but they did share, they did have struggles just like that, right? At the store level that was regionally specific, and they were struggling to roll out consistency across at the store level. But that's the reality. Was there was some region they're like, people aren't even showing up for day one for their jobs right now. And they're struggling to recruit in their communities versus other regions that had. So again, this word geospatial. And I have to think, Andrew Godomsky, he's been a big data guy for a long time. He runs Aspen Analytics. He does a lot of work. He does a lot of work for the public sector now, for the DHS. But he was the original platform that helped to power the candies when we first started a long, long time ago. Anyway, I just did a session with him this week at TA Week online, but kept using that word, and I was just teasing, like, I'm going to start using geospatial all the time now. But it's true. And that's the one thing, like, even this year, we can get a little bit of granularity even in our US data, but not to the county level or city level. There's so much that those dynamics that impact whether or not somebody is going to roll out what's been mandated from corporate, right? So you're right about that.
And then you've got one of my new favorite roles coming in, which I'm not actually being sarcastic. This is kind of my favorite role right now. These talent transformation folks who are coming into these businesses to try to transform talent, but they're not really there to transform talent, right? They're there to look at the business in the future and the current processes and say, how do we actually make it through the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? How do we make this business sustainable based on the talent we have currently and in the future? And I think, again, back to politics, and I think that's going to create a whole bunch of political waves, because a lot of these organizations, I hear this all the time. Well, we've always done it that way. Great. Why? I don't know. It's like that when I got here. Cool. Is it working? It's not working, but is it working?
Always love the double negative response, right? It's not working. So there you go. Do we
hire somebody today?
Do we know that? Do we know the difference? I think that those are all the very granular nuances that are the reality, right? For organizations big and small. I think it makes a big difference. I will argue, I still think that, at least based on our data, that the centralized model is better for candidates ultimately. But however, there is a point being made about, listen, I have to do what I have to do to get these people in the door where I'm at in my business. And what you're telling me to how to promote the brand argument's different, but there's just so many things that have to be looked at when it comes to that level of hiring.
I have two things in my head that come back over and over about this. One is our previous conversation, right, around discrimination. Part of the reason centralized organizations, I think generally speaking, find themselves in less hot water is because there's actually a check and balance.
Yeah, that's part of it.
System.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Right?
Compliance side. The compliance side.
Recruiters are not hiring managers. They don't decide who you will hire. I mean, sometimes they do, depending on the org, but a lot of times they don't. There's a check and balance system sort of in place. The second one, which is you have on your list, cost effective. The amount of duplicative spending out in the market on the same role, because the decentralized teams don't understand what even the small centralized org might be doing to support them from a unified contract with maybe a job board or their career site or whatever it might be, or engagement tools that they have. They have all these things that they are doing still at a centralized level, even in these vastly decentralized organizations. And that creates a lot of duplicative spending. Duplicative is the right word? Yeah. No. Yes.
That's a great word. That's like standardization.
What is wrong with us today?
That's like standard. You said it right, though. I'm the one that I
know, but then I caught myself in my head and went,
I'm the one that didn't say it right. So there you go.
But yeah, you see a lot of that where there's this doubling and tripling of money going against a particular hire that you don't realize until later, much later. And now you're like, why do we spend so much on that set of jobs or whatever it might be? It's because, left, right, and center aren't talking to each other.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much more that I want to do when it comes to our data that we continue to do more and more, but to really better understand more of the why, besides what we just shared and talked about in this podcast as we wrap this up, why across the candidate journey and what can our data tell us and outside data. You mentioned something to me before we started that I know I would love to get to. You were like, hey, do you partner with other data agencies that are out there, the BLS, the list goes on, and to align to see what correlations and relationships are there. It's always been on the wish list. And I think that at some point we'll be able to get there. It would be more eye-opening with that. And I try to pull that data in, but to be able to have somebody that's telling me, Kevin, this is what we see. I can parse, I'm decent enough to parse some of the BLS data, but it would be great to get even more expertise in that regard. So yes, the short answer is, but I think the summation for this episode is that definitely centralized provides a better positive candidate experience. It does.
The data supports that.
Data supports that. But you're right. There's so many different things that go on under the hood that I could never account for that make a big difference. And I appreciate you highlighting that.
Yeah, I think to tie that back to our opening conversation, right? My biggest fear as we look at this data is there is this increasing drive towards automation and AI bots. And, we might hire a few. And if we replace recruiters entirely with an AI, if you do that, you are actually moving to a decentralized model. If you have decided to automate your recruiting process, I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying if you've made this choice, you are inherently choosing a decentralized hiring model. And what does that mean?
That's very interesting, by the way. I don't know if this is where you were going, but based on more of the reading that I've been doing, I've never really been a doomsdayer per se, but I think decades from now, when AI has a specialized intelligence that we're far away from, that is beyond the capacity of the human mind to even comprehend why it's doing what it's doing, we're in trouble. And that's so far beyond even any hiring conundrum that we would ever...
I'll be at my Michelin star restaurant having dinner. It'll be fine, everybody. It's fine. The AIs will make me food too. It's going to be good.
So enough of that. Well, listen, Leah, it's always a pleasure. Great chatting with you. And we'll see you again very soon for another episode. And for everybody else out there, continue to get talent synced and listen to our podcasts. And we hope you enjoy.
Enjoy your summer.
You got it. Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Candy Benchmark research program and Job Sync collaboration. More episodes soon. Subscribe via your favorite podcast player today.